and welcome back to another day of art here on the art channel that does art every day. Today I went into it with absolutely zero idea what I was going to do, so I just kind of started doing shapes, hence why there's no sketch. And I got like this fetal position-y looking thing clutching its own legs, and I decided to just go with it. And I got the back tendrils, I got weird spikes on the hips and the knee, claw toes, and then I'm really just going in and making places that I think would be light, as I do when I render. Really in-depth stuff here, I know. And yes, the head kind of does look like a Chainsaw Man head. Not intentional. It's just a cool head shape. I'll just get that out of the way right now because I can see the comments already. I kind of implement, I implement human-ish anatomy into this, even though if you look at an actual person compared to this, it's really just the basic shapes that are the same, but otherwise all of the muscles are mostly different. Leg ones are pretty similar, and arm ones, other than length, are pretty equivalent too. Like the back muscles that you can see are, yes, they're similar to actual human back muscles, but they are much more stretched out. Well, not right now, but when I actually get to them, much more stretched out. Neck muscles are very strange. There's about 500 more of them than a normal person in this one. Or maybe it's more like all the fibers are separated out instead of being one muscle. Well, like 3 muscles. And connecting the knee is not really, how human knees work. That's, I don't know, some sort of accordion-y skin. I don't know. I think it looks good as a connection point. And I do it again on the shoulder just to do a little bit of harmony, just to tie everything together. Because if one joint is going to be weird and segmented, I guess, like that, there should be more than one. Because typically, if it's used once, it'll be used a couple more times throughout a design, depending on what you're going for. And there I added in fake ribs that are definitely not how people ribs work, but they're in the spot where it gives you the idea of like, yeah, those are probably ribs, even though that is not how actual ribs look like from the side. Same with these back muscles being super stretched and way thinner, although it's hard to tell because you're looking at it from the side. But also the concept of this ends up being incubating or incubation, so it's more of a underdeveloped creature. So theoretically, this is not what it would look like when it's done incubating. Still has who knows how much room to grow. Change its rib cage, change its back muscles, change its hand. Who knows? I also go in and add like kind of cracks or creases throughout it, just to give it something more interesting to look at, even though it's already like kind of interesting, at least compared to generic human shape. And here I'm extending the tendrils just for composition's sake. I thought, why have all this empty space and these tendrils just kind of like going itsy bitsy ways out? Why not fill out the canvas? And also connect the tendrils more into the body here, just by adding flaky bits of the body color into the darkness of the tendrils. And the brush I use for the tendrils is a default Critter brush, and it works weird. I don't know why it does this, but depending on which way you have the canvas flipped, it'll either be a darker color or mix in a bunch of white. I don't know why. I try to use that to my advantage. It's weird. I try to keep the dark stuff as like a base layer of it, and then I flip it to add in the highlights with the whiteness of it when it's flipped. Maybe it's a setting somewhere. I don't know. I just draw. I'm not questioning the programming of the default brushes. Eventually, yep, here we go, I think. I add more of the tendrils, making them longer to fill in that white space, just because before that it was a whole bunch of nothing. And it compositionally was blech. And that's a professional term. Blech. You can use that on a portfolio. But I fill it in just to make it more interesting. And now you can follow from that empty space, follow the tendrils all the way back to the head. I'm trying to add a whole bunch more highlights because typically when I'm doing solid color creatures, I kind of do not do enough for highlights and darkness. And if you were to look from far away, it would just be like 1 or 2 shades. So I'm trying to do more shades. And also, if you notice, the darks are more of a dark purpley, while as I'm going into the light, I get into a more orangey saturated color. But I'm not going to yellow because yellow on top of a red base color does not really make sense unless it's from a yellow light. When I was going for more of a passive white light, and eventually some blue. But that's not until the background happens. I also noticed I started using my really thin liner brush, which I created to be a line art brush, but then I never did line art. And I don't know when it happened, but I started using it a whole lot more for details and doing like little cross hatchings. I mean, you could probably find out where in some of the videos, because I imagine it was some time since I started doing YouTube videos. And now with that brush I've been talking about for 20 seconds, I am adding in like these really desaturated blue colors into the shadows. Just because in my head at this point I'm thinking I'm going to make the background blue, so that blue is going to reflect onto the shadows, making the shadows more of a blue color rather than the dark purple of the body. So I'm planning ahead. I'm thinking about this stuff. Not always, but like sometimes I am. And here I'm just working on that back leg. It does not need to have nearly as much detail as the front stuff because it is further back. That's also why it's way more desaturated. Just because I don't care about that. That's not the focus. It's just there to make it make sense. And also fill in a little bit of the white space at the bottom. Now I'm finally adding that blue background. Why blue? Because it is a complementary color of the red of the body. That's the reason. I like complementary colors. They're nice. I also did a much more desaturated blue rather than the slightly more saturated orangey red of the body. Just so your eyes would more naturally gravitate towards the body. I'm also adding white highlights now around the body, again, just to make it stick out more. And to show that there is some light coming from that white background. It also helps separate different parts of the body, like the front arm from that back arm, or the front arm from the front leg. And now this is the part where I decided that it would be some sort of incubation-y thing, where I was like, hey, this looks like it's floating. Why not make it look like it's in some sort of liquid? So that's what I did more of. With the power of watercolors and weird hard brush with low opacity that kind of looks like bubbles. And there it is. That's my thought process for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching another one of my arts. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good day. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Goodbye.